evening we have our monthly presentation of what you can see up in the night sky for the current month. And our member, AAI member Kathy Vaccari, she's been giving this presentation every month for quite a few years now. So please sit back and enjoy.
Right here. Okay, folks, I know it's darker sooner. We'll have a slide or two on that. We are ecstatic because, as you know, it means more stars to see earlier and earlier. So try to, try to come on that train with us because it really makes the darker months a little more beautiful.
In Cranford?
Absolutely. Okay, now one thing is, of course, there's just two things that happened that have already taken place. I usually warn on November 1st that we're going to, turn the clocks back. There's a wonderful supermoon that has come and gone because it is the 7th. But I will mention these things. As you know, we set our clocks back. Except for astronomers, but yeah, that's just about how everybody feels. Love it, except if you have a telescope. So the other thing is that you can get out at 8 o'clock and see something that you wouldn't see at 9 o'clock. You would have had to wait till 9 o'clock to see. So actually, we're almost getting a repeat of some of the fall constellations. They kind of got set back as well. So we're still pretty happy about that. And some people have a word for it, but basically it counteracts what we can call the seasonal westward turning of the constellations. They just sort of double back a little for our viewing pleasure. By the way, things that have happened, just a week or two ago, we were proud to be part of the Union County, it's called 4 Centuries of the Weekend. If anyone doesn't know about that, it's a yearly event where the many historical sites and architecture, etc., around the county is previewed, and over the course of a weekend, they have special hours. A lot of those old houses, for example, from previous centuries are not always open, or they're open at a very limited amount of time. Well, that's when everybody, including us, we were included as a cultural kind of institution, perhaps more than historical. But anyway, this already took place. Please don't forget next week and next year they will be advertising it, and we will be part of it. We try to do birthdays for the month of November to introduce things. Edmund Halley, who was of course known for Halley's Comet, good old 1656. William Herschel, who was a planet discoverer as well as a composer, by the way. Edwin Hubble of Hubble Telescope fame. Also, I have to mention there's someone who a lot of folks around here knew, Al Nagler, recently died last week. He apparently was on the job running Teleview Optics Founder. It's a very good institution, manufacturing place that a lot of our people have gotten equipment from. But anyway, he's sort of, he sort of died surrounded by his work and the people he loved. So if we could have anything better for him, I think he did it. So goodbye, Al. Also, thinking of our astronauts who were quite stranded a few months back, there's actually takenauts, which is what they call the Chinese astronauts. They were supposed to go back from the Chinese space station, and their replacements showed up. So there was six, a complement of six, with three trying to get back to Earth. Now there's 9 people aboard because something went wrong with the um, shuttle they were going to use. So basically, stay tuned for more info. But just feeling bad for them. The full moon, which already cleared our calendar, full beaver moon, as you know, a lot of the mythological treatments of the moon and the planets yield a lot of these names. So for this month, it's beaver, sort of noting the point at which beavers start to make their homes and get very busy. It was a supermoon, and it was the biggest supermoon of the year, mostly because the moon, which doesn't go around in a perfect circle, but in an oval. Sometimes the moon is closer to us at one point of the month than another, and that added to the supermoon quality of it. So that was, I think, Wednesday. So I'm sorry, but I wanted to at least make sure it was in the presentation. Very nice and bright. We're still feeling the brightness, I think, except for today, which we are not seeing anything tonight. And as you know, the full moon is always opposite the sun, so we get the best possible view, and it was November 5th. Speaking of moons, here's one of our members who a lot of us do astrophotography. As you know, afterwards when the lights are back up on this side of the room, there are photographs taken by our people, and these are not even the latest ones. We really have people learning all the time. So one of the benefits of joining the group is being able to learn how to do this, which is much simpler than one would imagine. It just really involves taking a whole lot of photographs, letting more and more light in, the more exposure you take, and then you stack them, and there's software available and being developed all the time to help you do that. And then you hone the figure after that. So we like to give credit where credit's due. Declan is a member. He's in New Mexico. That's where he lives. And he is on tonight, courtesy of Zoom. He's also my brother, but it's still pretty good. Still a pretty good picture. All right. Now planets, we're going to help you know whether they're naked eye or binoculars or telescopes. By the way, this is a plug for not only looking at things with the naked eye, but binoculars. A lot of people have them at home, and they're kicking around. Maybe they're used for games or the theater or whatever, or birding. Most decent binoculars are really two baby telescopes stuck together. You'd be amazed at how much more you can see with them. One of the best examples is the moon. You can see the suggestion of craters. Not as good as Declan's photo there, but you really do get. I call binoculars like the first piece of equipment that people should consider getting instead of spending a lot of money on telescopes. I have telescope and binoculars, and they're so easy. I just grab them. You obviously use both eyes. You don't get a sore or a pulled cheek muscle trying to aim inside a telescope. But with that said, let's move on. We're looking at the first planets you can see first thing in the morning, and Venus, which is either an early morning or an early evening planet for us to see, is viewable. This is a photo. You see Wayne Sewell's name down at the bottom. He's one of our astrophotography people. In Venus, as well as, well, it is a inner planet, um, between us and the sun. It comes in phases, like the moon. Never really get a full circle Venus. So this particular photo shows that off. Now, actually, in the morning, Mercury and Venus. This was a photo taken in 2001, but one of the astronomy magazines did display this picture, saying this is pretty much what you're going to see in the pre-dawn sky. So it's worth it getting up an hour or two or so before before the sun rises. It's just, it's a very serene time of day before the world wakes up, and the sights are literally out of this world. Here's another, I think, astronomy magazine put this together. They're very low in the horizon at the end of the month, November 25th. But if you have a horizon that's not, you know, um, clouded out by buildings or whatever, or trees, I try to do that. And they do mention, fancy terms like magnitude. Venus would be at negative 3.9. And to give you an idea of how magnitude works, actually the negative number is when it's brighter. The only things, I think the sun, forgive me if I'm a little off, is like about negative 25. Moon, I think, is like negative 11. The planets, Venus and Jupiter, are the only ones that get anywhere near here. But Venus is, this is pretty much almost 4.0 or negative 4.0. Both Venus and Jupiter are the brightest things you can see at night, except for the moon. So that's a good try to see that if you can. And this gives you the idea of how Venus is sinking this month. You've got the beginning of Venus, of the beginning of the month, and then mid-November, it's a little lower, and then it's really sinking and really getting lost close to the sun at that point. It will re-enter, but the evening sky this time in February. So that'll be a lot of fun. If anyone has seen Venus, it's one of those, what is up there? It's so bright. It's like where we are, of course, with all our pollution and everything, so close to the airport, when you see a plane coming, and it's like, is that a plane or a planet? It's usually a plane. But that's how bright Jupiter is. Really,
It's like a
and
headlight.
Venus.
It's like a headlight.
Like a headlight. Very good. Yep. Thank you. And this is after sunset. Now we're moving on to the day when the sun is setting. And Mars and Mercury, we are not making a big fuss because they are so far down on the ecliptic that you really, it's really not going to be anything that we can take advantage of. Saturn is going to be up and very quickly too. So Saturn is basically our star planet for the month. We do have Jupiter coming up, but gotta kind of hang on till 11 or midnight. I'll tell you more about that later. But this is what we've got after sunset. Now Saturn, which last time we looked, it had 274 moons. It really took a great number from like 149. In the last year, they have discovered so many more moons. And that is going to be up for, what we call prime time, 7 to 11 here at Sperry. And it'll be setting around 2 a.m. mid-month, just to let you know, to get all your Saturn viewing in as much as you can. Be it'd be about 30 degrees high after dark, and as I said, it's darker sooner. This is a representation in the corner there down the bottom. I can read it on November 6th at 8 p.m. Um, as you probably know, the rings are pretty much edge on this time of year at this point in Saturn's revolution about the sun, around the sun, which takes 29 years, and our revolution around the sun. This is how we see Saturn from where we are. Okay, so this shows Titan there, little satellite, moon or satellite, which a lot of us will see in um, telescopes, especially here, when we can see it, when it is clear. And the cool thing about both Saturn and Jupiter is that sometimes you see in the middle, it's Ray, RHEA, that satellite, and actually the shadow is in another part of the globe, which is really cool. I mean, that must be amazing. Okay. Um, Now we have some photographs from some of our people. Saturn up top, that is taken by Cliff Ashcroft, who is also on Zoom with us tonight. And like a good astronomer, when he takes a picture, because when you look at something, a planet, or even the moon in a telescope, it's flipped, it's upside down. So if you have a feature that you're looking for, otherwise it doesn't matter. But you're studying where on the moon is a certain crater you like, you know, it's good to remember that the image is flipped, not with binoculars. Binoculars you'll see, straight up. So when you see a picture in a magazine, lots of times they don't tell you is south up, which is that S with the arrow. That's what Cliff is telling us. And so I flipped that. And actually, at this point, the the rings are going down like this. Okay. Also in the bottom there, the same month, but earlier in there, Donna Harris, who is not with us tonight, I believe. She's one of our burgeoning, up and coming, and she's already there, in terms of astrophotography. She's taken another one, which, as you see, that's where the rings are. But as the month progresses, and these things were taken in September, look at this is the oppositions are the point in the year when we can see a planet best. And as you go down the list, you see that the rings are constantly changing their tilt. So we're really, well, yeah, we're pretty much here. And then it's going to start opening in 2026, way down the bottom left. We'll start opening 2027, 2028, and it'll keep going back and forth as the years progress. But it's always interesting to see the month and that time of year when it's edge on, because the globe, you start noticing other things like the satellites going around the planet and how cool it is to photograph them, and also the features of Saturn itself, which I will show you in a minute. But every so often, we go through the ring plane every 13 to 15 years, and it's going to happen November 23rd when it's actually going to make them disappear. And this is a good representation of it. Again, there's one of the moons going around, one of the satellites going around the planet, and the lower to the right of that is the shadow, which is so cool. So Saturn lovers do remember November 23rd. This is something when I talk about the actual globe of Saturn, this is one of the poles, and we had a Cassini spacecraft um, around 2013 for a few years going around. It has finished its mission and actually disappeared into the planet, taking pictures all the time as it disappeared. Just amazing. But look at that hexagon. That's a storm. And it's just amazing. I mean, it's as if somebody drew it. So one of the things about the first time, 15 years ago or so, when Saturn was was at a point where all you could see really was the globe, I was learning a lot about it. It's just fascinating. You know, if you leave wanting to Google more, please do, because that's what, you know, you could never explain how amazing some of this stuff is. But there's Saturn for you. Uranus, no giggles, is the next one that's coming up. I'll show you a globe of the fall constellations and where the planets are in relation to that later. One of the cool things is, remember, as I said, the opposition pictures I showed you of all the many Saturns and all the tilt that the rings were taking. Opposition means where we're in between the planet and the sun. So at night, the sun is shining on Uranus, for example, and we, on the nighttime side, are able to see the planet, get any given planet the best. One cool thing about this photo is that many of you may know that the outer planets all have rings. A lot of them, most of them, are dust and ice. The reason Saturn is so amazing to us is that most of that is ice and very reflective. But it's really cool to know also, at some point in Saturn's creation, it got knocked on its side, so it doesn't have that typical ring planet look. So I just love photos that will actually show you that. Here's actually a photo literally from NASA's James Webb Telescope, and it's got rings and some of the moons there. But I love that. That's just really great. I'll show you where they are in the night sky later. Actually, I love this. Wayne took this photo, but that is actually what you see. That represents, for example, it was only a few years ago, and I've been here for 20 years or more. First time I saw Uranus, and I was amazed, seeing how little it is, of course, you know, but that little tiny dot or whatever was there, and it was green. It had color. A lot of things don't have color until you develop a photo that lets the original color kind of come through. It is true that I guess Saturn is kind of off white. Jupiter has brownish yellow bands and does look golden. Well, there's good old Uranus. It was just a hoop, so I wanted to pass that on. Jupiter is coming. Here is actually, it's a gift from one of our other astrophotographers, Tony Sharpman. It's the next one coming, and please, in December, you'll be able to see actually two of people's favorite planets, probably, because they have features that are so interesting to look at. But it would rise about 9:30 p.m. at the beginning of November. And as you see that magnitude again, that's a negative 2.3. It's not as great as Venus with a 3.9, but it's up there. It's going to get a little brighter by November 30th. It'll be coming up at 8. And usually, by the time it comes up about 25, 30 degrees to clear the trees and things like that on the horizon, that's when you can see them. But it's on its way. And that would be rising 8 p.m. on the 30th. And here is a very interesting graphic. We have something like this mostly showing the Venus in the morning. Well, the thing is, you can also see Jupiter in the morning, and it will be very high up just before sunrise. And Venus, is quite low on the horizon. But then when you wait, until 10, 11 p.m., Jupiter is going to appear in the evening sky as well. So that's kind of an extra little treat. I'm going to try to get up early and do that. Now, when Jupiter does come up, it's actually, if we stay up, I mean, a lot of people will stay up to, let's say, 1 or 2 when they know their favorite planet is coming up. And I'm one of them. So you could actually notice that in the evening, really very late in the evening, there's the moon that would be just above it, the 6th and the 7th, and it just makes a beautiful picture because it's by several well-known and giant stars, Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, which is of course in Orion, everybody's favorite constellation, and it's fun to look at Orion when it's not around prime time. Getting up in the middle of the night to see your favorite winter constellation, which isn't viewable now at a decent hour. And then Aldebaran is another red giant that is the eye of the bull in Taurus. So that would, well, actually the 7th. Well, okay, I guess that ship has sailed. Let's move on to a little later. Well, November 8th. Okay, let's try for tomorrow night. But there's Jupiter next to the moon. Well, that would be the 9th, and then Jupiter lower than the moon for November 8th. But Castor and Pollux are actually bright stars that you can see with the naked eye. And with binoculars and telescopes, they actually resolve into 2 different colored stars because stars are different colors. I'll show you on a star map soon. But again, Jupiter, which is easy to find anyway because it's so bright, but it's also helpful if it's near a moon phase and if it's near 2 bright constellation stars. Another thing, which is November 10th, is we've got a half moon there, and there's a cluster that is right next to it called the Beehive Cluster that is just beautiful. It's a smattering of stars. It's in the constellation Cancer, which has no bright stars at all, and really there's nothing to point the constellation out to us. But because this cluster is so famous and makes Cancer such a beautiful constellation, it's always nice to know that it's right next to something that is pretty obvious, which is the half moon there, okay? And it's under Jupiter, and there's Castor and Pollux up there. So I'm going to try to catch that as well. Jupiter in a telescope is on the left there, you've got the major Galilean moons, which are very well known. They are the largest moons of all the Jupiter, many moons, many satellites. And you see the bands there. You can make that out in any decent telescope, and of course in our Sperry Observatory scopes. Just showing them in binoculars. That's another thing that I love about binoculars. I love to grab my binoculars when I see Jupiter because you can see very tiny, I mean really tiny but they're definitely there. The four major Galilean moons on either side, and they switch sides all the time. It takes hours, but they actually move. And there's a lot of reasons to enjoy the universe and our solar system because really it's busy. It's not just static. There's times when Jupiter, a few years ago, it lost its rings, and it lasted for a while. We did, sometimes you find out that there's a storm on the planet that is covering things up. Just, very interesting. Storms, little white sections on Saturn. Again, it's just very exciting. But the little dots with the bigger dot there for binoculars is what I love about looking at Jupiter. Now, I'm just showing you a bigger view of the four: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, by the way. So, and there's 95 total satellites, by the way, around Jupiter, but they wander with periods of 1.8 to 17 days. So, another day you may look and there's 3 moons on one side and 1 moon on the other. It's just, it's one of the things that makes us all space nerds. Now, for people who are Jupiter astrophotographers as well as just looking, usually we can tell where on a given day there's going to be an optimum time to enjoy some of the features. So Ganymede on the 17th, and then again between the night of the 24th going into the 25th, that's going to be transiting Jupiter. It's going to end at 12:23 a.m. and it begins, it lasts about 3 hours. Begins at 1:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and ends at 4:30. So again, note the 17th and again the 24th, 25th. You'll get some gorgeous, gorgeous pictures. Now, the full constellation map with the planets, this basically gives you our star map. As you can see, I put in a line there. You've got coming down here. I know people at home can't see, but I'm going from the right near the bottom. You can see there it's in a line, a curved line. There is Saturn, and then Neptune we haven't talked much about, but I did want to make sure you knew that it was up in the night sky. And then we go here through the arc, and that is Uranus. And then right in the sidelines, like midnight or so, is Jupiter. Now you see that they follow a line, and a lot of you already know this, but one way that makes reading a star map not so scary is that the path of the sun rising in the east, settling in the west, all the zodiac constellations are the ones that actually are in that path, and that's why they became so renowned, because they do follow that path. And at night, of course, they're just following a similar path. But you're always going to see coming from, let's say when Saturn is first coming up, and here we are, at Sperry, and this is east pretty much, south, north, and west. It would come up, go overhead, and it will always be they're in the same plane. It's just how our solar system is made, which is easy. There may be other planets, around other stars in the universe and our galaxy that do something else. But they're all in the same plane, which makes it very easy. Also, we don't know all the constellations. I mean, some of us do, but you know the ones that are very familiar, like Taurus, Aquarius, you know, a whole bit, which is, you know, mainly because of astrology, which is not what we do, but there are a lot of links there. But you will always, this is Aquarius, and this is Pisces. And then actually Uranus is in Taurus. And then here you cannot really see, but Gemini, the twins, that is where Jupiter will be. So it really, you know, the interesting thing is the arc really goes slightly south of overhead and then goes in the west. So you'll never see a planet over there. You know what I mean? Let's say a northern constellation like actually poor Big Dipper is almost off the page here, but you'll never see a planet in the north. It's always going to be slightly you know south of the top of the I'm trying to say the nadir. That's not the right word.
Zenith.
Zenith, thank you. Oh, it's Friday. You know, I used all my words. Sorry. Yeah. So it's going to be slightly south of Zenith. And so it helps you know. What's also good about knowing the sky is at a time when a lot of the very bright stars, a lot of them are in the winter. Sometimes you want to make sure you're looking at a star and not or a planet and not mistaking, you know, not getting the planet and the star mixed in. And as you see, we're seeing in the left here all the very well-known winter constellations with very bright stars. There's Orion there with Betelgeuse. So, you know, it's just good to know your way around. The other thing I mentioned was stars have different colors, which makes it so beautiful. And as you can see, there are some that are almost blue-white, and it goes gamut from blue-white to bluish-white to white, off-white, vanilla, and gold, and then almost red. It's really, I guess, a deep flesh color, but we call, let's say, Mars the red planet. You know, it does have, I guess, more of a flesh color from when we see it here on Earth. But the funny thing is that it would seem that the red stars are the hottest ones and the blue-white ones are the coolest, and actually it's the other way around. It's anything that is blue and then blue-white, whatever, they are, at least at the beginning of their particular lives, and they go hot. And then when a star reaches towards the end of its life, it starts to swell, and we call them red giants. And there's several of them up there. I will, you know, make a mention of some of them later, but that's just so cool. Now we have done in the past. Remember, I told you that it started earlier, so now we're sort of dealing with some of the same constellations at about 7, 8, 9 o'clock that we were before, and it sort of extends our early fall constellations. And we've done a lot on a lot of these. I'm going to be talking about right here. For the people at home, I'm making a kind of a circle around that square there in the middle. That is Pegasus, and this great square of Pegasus. We're able to see certain parts that are very familiar to some people. A lot of you know Cassiopeia. It either is like a W or an M up in the sky. This is Cepheus, which we don't usually hear a lot about. That's actually Cassiopeia's husband. The next few slides are going to be going on some of the myths that that actually tie a lot of these characters and their representation in the night sky. So let me just, you see, all right. There, I've taken some of the planets out. I want to go back so that you know um, where these guys are. You can see. No, you can't really. I don't think anyone can see. Well, at home anyway. You've got, as I said, you've got Saturn in Aquarius. You've got next door. You've got Pisces, and that's where Neptune is. Moving on, we've got Taurus, and that's where our little Uranus green spot is. And then coming up here, I think I would be able to show you a little more later, is where Jupiter is going to be coming up. But just around this great square of Pegasus, there we go. We have Cassiopeia up here, and you see the W that I alluded to before, and people at home can see that. All right. She was a queen, very very conceited, thought she was so beautiful, and incurred the wrath of the gods. This is Cephas. Sometimes it's upside down. It kind of looks like a little house here. He's sometimes upside down in the sky, and so is she sometimes upside down in the sky. As a punishment, she was put in the sky. So what happened is her daughter Andromeda down here, and this V, this elongated V thing, is the Andromeda constellation attached to this part of the constellation, which is really the front end of a horse, Pegasus, great square of Pegasus, and this is actually Perseus, who is, I don't know if you can see here, I'd like to make it bigger, but he is holding the head of Medusa. How Pegasus, the beautiful horse, got created is it sprung from the head of the snake lady. I guess she's known more for that than anything else. Perseus is going to save Andromeda. Okay. What has happened to her is and she is here, as I said before. And then down here is Cetus, the whale, some sort of horrible monster fish. And she is usually shown chained. And sometimes you can see, yeah, you can see the chains here. I will show you a picture, a sculpture at the Met that is a little more obvious than that. And then here's Perseus. That's one of my favorite representations, just some kid could, yeah, I think Sam Worthington played him in Clash of the Titans. I don't know if any of you saw that. But anyway, here's Perseus, who has his own constellation, okay? But here he is introducing the idea of Pegasus being springing from his heroic beheading of the snake lady. All right. So the coolest thing is that a lot of these places, here's Cepheus, again, that father of Andromeda, and he is the husband of Cassiopeia here on the left. We actually had a lot of features that a little known constellation like Cepheus has. And here it is. Wayne has done NGC good old 7510, and it is found in the constellation Cephas. It's the lobster claw nebula here, which is very cool. All right, and I do like to show off constellations I talk about, and also the people who take our wonderful pictures. Here's another one. This is actually the Elephant Trunk Nebula. This is from our friend Donna Harris here, which is wonderful, absolutely beautiful. And that is where it is. It's kind of at the bottom of the square of that Cepheus house that you see up in the sky there. Okay, so we've done what we can with good old Cepheus. Now this is the Great Square of Pegasus, and this is the Andromeda constellation. Here is Andromeda with a very peachy rated little sign over her chest there. This is actually a beautiful part of the Met when you come in, and there's these sculptures under skylights. And there she is. She is chained, and here's the big maw or jaw of the serpent. There you go. So that's absolutely stunning. She's got a very wonderful position there. The cool thing about the Andromeda constellation is it brings up the Andromeda galaxy, which we think of right away. There's two stars in this long, elongated V, which I try to find. I'll show you a few ways to do it, but I usually find this one. Here's the Great Square of Pegasus star that is borrowed by the Andromeda constellation. And then you count, one, two, for the people at home, I'm doing the bottom line, and then head up and slightly to the right, there's another star. And then there's two stars on either side. This is what you can see in binoculars. You can see all of this. And then there's just this schmutz, actually. It's actually just it's almost like a cotton ball or a cloudy, very, spooky cloud there. But the fact that it's the Andromeda galaxy makes it really exciting. And even in this, I'm talking about my binoculars, even in this telescope, it will seem like a fuzzball. Again, you need, photography, you need to, take a lot of pictures, let a lot of light in, stack them, the whole bit. But the fact that you can see that is amazing. And there are people who can actually see that fuzzball with the naked eye in a very dark sky sight. And yes,
Dark sky with binoculars, you see it obviously as a beautiful galaxy with all the details. It's not a blob, but you have to go to dark skies, and Cranford is not dark.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's got to be amazing. Here, actually, Mary, who introduced me, we were in Norway actually to see the Northern Lights, and we were very happily able to take a lot of other pictures. But she actually has a photograph, and that's what I like, because you can look at, for example, a lot of you got a page doing the information about the November sky. But when you actually look at the sky and see all this, especially a star-studded sky, it would be very hard to learn the constellations. That's why I don't feel so bad that I'm in New Jersey, because you can see the big dot sky, stars, and some of the smaller dot stars, but you can see patterns better than something like this. But the reason I like this picture is it shows you this is the Pegasus Great Square star that the square uses, and also the elongated V of the Andromeda constellation uses. So we go to, that's the first one. We go to the next one. We go to number 3. Then there's 3A here. I've decided it's 3A. And then sort of straddling the middle are these two stars, and then that's it. So you can really actually get a good idea of how to find the Andromeda Galaxy. And if there's anyone showing you with really decent binoculars when you go to a star party, that they'll do the work for you and you can see. But this is something you can do yourself. And here's one of the pictures. We have a ton of excellent pictures by our people. Declan did the most recent. Oh no, this is October 2024. Again, you can see the Andromeda Galaxy, and actually it's got two little baby galaxies alongside it. But usually what you see with that smudge is really the very the uh, inner part of the galaxy is actually quite wide and hard to get an idea without the benefit of, for example, astrophotography. But there you have it. And it's the farthest thing that we can see with the naked eye. And we did some things in previous months on how our galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy, I'm sorry, the Milky Way galaxy and the other galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy, are headed for in a few billion years, for a contact, shall we say, crashing into each other. And there's so much space there. There's probably no star or planet is actually going to collide with anything because the distances between everything are just so massive. And it will be, cool if we're all alive in whatever planet we're on at that point. But anyway, now Cetus, I wanted to mention, that was the mean monster fish that was harassing Andromeda. Just finding it here, this is the only time it gets mentioned, but it's kind of low in the sky, and all of these low level, not low level, but low hanging constellations all seem to have something to do with water. You've got Aquarius, the water bearer, Capricorn, the sea goat, Cetus, the whale, could be a whale, Delphinus, the dolphin, Eridanus, the great river, Hydra, the water serpent, and Pisces, the fishes. And here, see, this is all the way down here. It's just very, very interesting to note that they are all kind of in a specific area there. And again, showing you this, these stars, by the way, that help you find the Andromeda Galaxy are quite bright, so you can actually make out that great square of Pegasus. Okay, now here we go again. It's just all these folks. It's the one area where you're showing a lot of talking about a lot of constellations nearby that have to do with one particular myth. So it's wonderful. The other thing is I want to mention one of coming up here. This is farther east. I know it's a little confusing to take, for example, the map you have in your hands and to represent what is really a dome. West is not here, it's actually there. But if you read the directions, basically you put it over your head, you face south, and then you can tell where things are. So this is a little confusing, but these are the constellations. We've talked about the ones here. These ones coming up later, I want to just make a little mention, because if you stay up late, especially waiting for Jupiter, you're going to wonder what they are. So here are actually this area here. We want to show you. It's going to take a while for Orion to show, but we're going to have Taurus there with Aldebaran, Eye of the Bull, and let me just show you that. Okay, that's pretty much the the mythological beast. Um, this section is called the Hyades around Aldebaran, and a lot of you know the Pleiades. That's that smattering of stars right overhead. That's one of the few things that I saw with my naked eye, and I wondered what they were when I was first learning the sky. This is a pretty cool picture of the eye of the bull, Aldebaran. And okay, this is the Hyades here. But actually, you see these two little things? When I look in binoculars, it's the prettiest constellation. You can see a lot of this, and it's almost like the snorting nose of the bull. And then up here, when you look around here with binoculars and you say, "Oh, gee, where are they?" As soon as you hit it, they're so they're so outstanding. There's no way to miss it. Pleiades, by the way, I found out a few years ago, is um, Subaru is Japanese for the Pleiades, and that's why they have the stars. They're usually called the Seven Sisters, and there aren't seven stars there, but we won't worry about that. I just want to, the other thing is when you're looking in this area of the sky, here's one of those little known constellations. And Capella, it's Auriga, the constellation. No one's ever heard of it, but Capella is one of the brightest stars in the sky. So a lot of people who know the sky don't know that. I remember, answering somebody, and I was so proud of myself because I knew what it was. Again, it should be more familiar, but it isn't. So don't forget to, pay your homage to Capella there. Yeah, what the heck is that? And Auriga is known as the goat herder. Here he is, and he's got two little goats there, and it's called Kids. And Capella is its star. Now, moving right along, comets, I want to just touch. I'm sorry, but I'm not keeping you from a beautiful sky, so I don't feel so bad. But we've been following comets the last, few months. So it's a lot. Some of them are kind of moving away from us, but just to briefly go over there, and this is my little thing, sort of showing people. I try to keep it up to date. I figure I'll do New York. I won't get anyone mad about New Jersey. Anyway, here we go. This is something that Isabel, one of our people, did. He found Comet Swan and the Eagle Nebula in one shot, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. And the head of our research group, Mary Lou here, is responsible for letting a lot of us know all the good work that her people do. This is one of them. That's absolutely marvelous from last month. And Comet Swan, last month a lot of people had taken pictures and I showed them, but I'm just going to show you the most recent ones. This is after sunset. It's actually going to be moving along. Here's Capricorn. It's very low in the sky. That's where the Eagle Nebula was, by the way. And so when he took the picture, here's August 22, 24, 26. It was a little, earlier than the 22nd, but that's how we got it in the same frame as the Eagle Nebula. And then going into November, it's going into Aquarius, and heading really towards Saturn. Maybe people will try to get a photo of the two of them together. But Swan is sort of getting fainter. October was really the best time to see it. Whoops, sorry, you already saw that one. Now Comet Lemon, this is where it would be tonight on the evening of the 7th of November, 45 minutes after sunset. You see it's kind of low in the horizon. Here you can see this is Sagittarius. You know how low those things are, like Sagittarius and Scorpio. They're very low in the sky during the summer And now, of course, we're moving on. But actually, the serpens is actually, there are two. That's where it's supposed to be. They're actually a constellation split in half, the left serpent and the right serpent. And this is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. And I think, yes, Declan, here you are again. And he said, yeah, I'm a little late, but I couldn't resist one more photo of Comet Lemon. It really is a cool looking comet. And that's only like a week ago. So thanks very much, Deck. The other one people have been talking about is that, ooh, is it a extraterrestrial craft or not? And we're saying or not. It's the Atlas comet, which has, it's going through the solar system, and at some point it has gone behind it's going behind the sun. We won't be able to see it. But then when it ricochets back, we'll have another chance for it to be close to Earth. Now, this is one of the many. Some people have drawn it as a long, drawn out, looking more like the Millennium Falcon than this. But this is just a guess. So what it did was pass Mars October 3rd, and NASA put out this very cool thing showing it passing, and then what it's going to do is come around again, and leave. It's not coming around at all. But the mystery was it came from the Sagittarius direction of our sky, from the direction of the center of our Milky Way, because our meteors and comets, they usually come from the outer solar system. They don't come from another part of the galaxy. And this is, the actual name is, it's the third interstellar atlas, etc., which is an acronym as well. I won't confuse you with that. But that's the third that we know of that really came from beyond. And so hence, people are very curious as to what it really is. So what it's doing is now everybody, countries, European space agencies, NASA, everybody, the Chinese, they're all putting their Mars orbiting or Jupiter orbiting, as well as our Hubble and everything. They're all turning their reconnaissance cameras towards this area to try to catch it. So this was cool. This was actually early October. That was Tianwen, Chinese Mars orbiter. Actually took a picture of it moving with the field of stars in the back. It would be better for viewing. It'll come into better viewing late November to early December. It's going to have a close approach to Earth on December 19th. And apparently, it's going to pass Jupiter on its way out in March 2026. So we're going to have a lot of fun before this comet actually goes bye-bye. Here's the atlas, pretty much in late November, going through Virgo and then going into Leo. Yeah, for December. So it'll be a lot of fun catching it. Now, actually, the two standing meteor showers that we usually have in November, the northern torrids, usually, people say that there's a peak to a certain meteor shower, but usually it's about a month long. You just figure, that at some point it would be, peak condition and more interesting to look at. The problem is we have another one coming up, another meteor shower. Both times the moonlight's going to make it difficult for us in November. But they say the northern torrids are slow moving, but sometimes very bright. You can really catch detail. Now that's one of the things that most meteor showers are from comets. This particular one is from an asteroid, the good old 2004 TG10 common spilling, and perhaps there's a little bit of a particle from comet Bennu. All right, and the next one are the Leonids, and they usually take their names from the constellation it appears they're coming from. Now, because they're coming from within the solar system, they're really not coming from, the star constellation, millions of miles away. But you look towards Leo to see the Leonids. Again, there's a peak of November 17th to 18th. The entire shower, you can look from November 3rd to December 2. You can try when, for example, a new moon or when the moon is a crescent, it is not washing everything out. But the moon isn't cooperating around these peak times, and you get about 15 meters per hour. So they're famous because every 30 to 34 years, the parent comet, which is Tempel-Tuttle, would be passing close to the sun. And that should happen 2032, good old 2032. So the reason why we can calculate that in November, for example, we have the Leonids is that at some point the original comet passed through, left a dust and an ice trail, because it's sort of like a dirty snowball. And with our orbit around the sun, that in November we cut through that trail. That's why we can say, oh, we've got the Leonids, for example, in November. And that is it, folks. This is something my sainted mother put on a card when she realized I was into astronomy. And it just says so much about what brings us all to this really happy, beautiful, peaceful hobby. And there's some of my acknowledgments, and I thank you so much.